we can take a look to see that. And I'm just going to simply do a manual exposure of it. Doesn't really matter how long we take. I've turned the ISO speed up to 6400 and it's on bulb setting, so it's taking the fastest exposure that it possibly can. So it's off on the edge. So the bright star that we have up there in the corner, if we bring that over here, we're going to also be bringing the Whirlpool Galaxy. So we've moved the scope around a little bit to make sure that the Whirlpool Galaxy is in the center of the frame. I've taken about a 30-second exposure here on the highest ISO that we possibly can, and we'll just end our exposure and just make sure that, confirm that the Whirlpool Galaxy is dead center in our frame of view. So now that we have that, we'll want to basically turn the settings on the scope to where we want to actually do our exposure, and that will entail going back into the menu and under the image, choosing, now we want to put our long exposure reduction on. So we'll take 5-minute exposure, and then it'll take a dark frame as well. So we'll go from off to on, and then we also want to turn our ISO setting down to about ISO 800, and so we'll do that here at the top of the camera. So we've got it at ISO 800, shows up there on the screen as well. And then the really critical piece of equipment is going to be this intervalometer. So we're going to set it up for a 5-minute exposure, and the camera is then set up to take a 5-minute dark exposure. So we'll do a 5-minute exposure and then about 5 minutes and 5 seconds between exposures, in which the camera will be doing its dark, and then it will take another 5-minute exposure. So we're going to basically set that up for just one exposure. We'll be doing the about 5 of those exposures. At this point, we want to get our autoguider going. We'll set up our intervalometer so that it's ready to start, and we'll change that to a 5-minute exposure, and then we'll do the number of exposures. We're just going to do 1 for now, and it'll take a 5-minute dark frame afterwards, and then we'll reset it so that actually we'll set that now so that it's taking 5 minutes between, and then we'll just have to change the number of exposures that we take with it. So we have a 5-minute exposure, we have 1 exposure that we're taking, and always good to run through that whole menu. Again, 5-minute exposure, 1 picture, 5-minute time delay so that it settles down, and 5 minutes and 5 seconds between the exposures. So that way we know that we're kind of set up. What we want to do now is get our autoguider started and going. So on our PhD guiding, what we're going to want to do is probably do 1-minute exposures on that. We have to do the looping and find a star now that's close to the Whirlpool Galaxy, and there's a number of them that have shown up there. We'll hit the stop button and then choose a star such as that one to guide on, and hit PhD guiding. Now it's going to take about 5 minutes for it to go through the calibration process. You can kind of watch what's going on down here in the bottom left-hand corner. So you can see on the screen there in the bottom right-hand or bottom left-hand corner that it says it is guiding now. So what we'll want to do is basically just stop this, get our intervalometer set up. It's all set and ready to go for a 5-minute exposure and 5 minutes in between. So all we'll have to do is hit the start button there, and once again we'll start up our guiding on that guide star that we had chosen, and make sure that everything is settled down. In the menu for the PhD guiding, there is tools, and we want to enable the graph as we have here. This kind of shows us what's happening in terms of our guiding, and we'll start taking our picture once that blue line and the red line settle down on our graph. And that's actually pretty decent. So we're going to hit our intervalometer and start our first exposure. So the camera is on, and we'll come back in 10 minutes. And again, we'll just double check our guiding. Looks like it's doing really well, and following that guide star. So we should get a pretty decent picture. What we'd like to do in this video is show the processing that we went through to work with the images that we took on this Celestron Advanced Edge HD telescope that's in our AstroPhoto Suite section. Basically, we were using the camera, the 60DA from Canon, with this particular telescope and system. You can see that there is the focal reducer on there that brings it down to a f7 focal ratio. We're using the Orion Starshoot autoguider in the back of the finder scope as our auto guiding scope, and we also had added the red dot finder. We tend to like to put in the polar scope in here so that we did our proper polar alignment. But in this particular system, we're going to be using the Adobe suite of programs from Bridge to Photoshop and Adobe Camera Raw. I want to emphasize that there's many different ways of doing image processing. We have videos on our website here in terms of using nebulosity, and Todd Benko walks you through the whole process of working with nebulosity in terms of doing image capture and processing. So that would be one way. We also have a series of videos on the website as well to be able to do processing with PixInsight, and also Warren Keller's videos where he goes through fairly extensively using Photoshop and PixInsight in terms of doing the processing. But what we're doing here is we're largely following the Alan Dyer directions that he's given in his workshops on taking astrophotos with a single lens reflex. So we'll be using Adobe Bridge, Adobe Camera Raw, and Photoshop to do this. And again, emphasize this is only one way that a person might go in terms of developing and processing the images. So we'll start off by opening Bridge. We've already downloaded the images from the Canon 60DA, and here we have the 5 images of the Pinwheel Galaxy, Messier 33, also called the Triangulum Galaxy. While we're working with these images, again, we'll emphasize we're just doing a basic workflow of what we'll be doing with them. To get further details, you should take Alan Dyer's workshop on astrophotography with a digital single lens reflex camera. So this will just be a fairly basic run through of how we work with these particular images. I'm just going to go back one step here and show you kind of what the final project is going to be. There's our stacked and processed image and then saved as a JPEG, and if we want to view it as an entire screen, that's kind of what our goal is in terms of our final picture. But what we've got here is the 5 photos as they came out of the camera, and if we click on one of them, you can see over here on the right hand side that these were 10-minute exposures. We set it up for 10 minutes. It looks like they were 2 seconds short of 10 minutes each, and you can see that we shot them at ISO 1600. If we want to go down here under the camera data, it records it as a Canon EOS 60D, although this was with the 60DA, which is for there. It'll try to record what the lens was, although because it's not a Canon lens, it just simply listed as a 50mm focal lens, but it was the Edge HD 800 with the focal reducer giving us effectively an f7 focal ratio. So what we'll want to do is select all of these images, and you'll see in Canon the raw images are listed as CR2. That's going to be different if it's in Nikon, and even with Canon cameras, as they develop these raw images that come out may be in somewhat different formats. But here we have 5 of them, and again, each of these 10-minute exposures were followed by a 10-minute dark frame. So we have 5 exposures of 10 minutes each, and all of them have a 10-minute dark frame with them as well. So